Everybody, welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. I'm your host, Cody Kelly. Connect me on IG at CVMK33. Tonight's topic discussion, Black in America. I have a couple of guests, one who's on right now, another one that will be joining us. I have the Reverend, the most revered Reverend, the Elder Ladarius Beal. He's a community activist. I just want to read his bio. Ordained elder within the Church of God in Christ, activist, community organizers, focuses on social justice. Currently, he is a student at Trinity Christian College and community organizer with the Southwest Organizing Project in Chicago, Illinois. And then our next guest, who will be joining us within a couple of minutes, is the Dr. Shaniqua Jones. Completed her doctoral degree in interdisciplinary leadership, specialization in higher education, 2016. Proven professional code of ethics. She has a 2-year assignment as Director of Community Engagement and Diversity Programs at Trinity Christian College. Dean of Students at Chicago Collegiate Charter School, Cook County Southland Juvenile Justice County, Coordinator, Justice of Restorative Practices within Thornton Township High School, as well as a wife, mother, and author. She will be joining us in a couple of minutes, but I want to first start with our most revered guest. Reverend Bill, how are you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing good, You doing all right?
Doing all right, and she is on. Dr. Jones, how are you doing today? I just read your bio.
I'm good, and you? Hey, Bill.
Hey, Dr. Jones, good to see you.
You too.
Looking good there.
Thank you.
Good. I want to first start here. In the wake of everything, right? I've seen a lot of people comment and say, this is not protesting. This is looting. And I feel like that's like saying an asterisk to all, to Black Lives Matter, but right. So obviously I don't think anybody condones the destruction of property. But to those who are so adamant about the way people are going about showing their frustration, what do you say to that? And I'll start with Dr. Jones. Bill, you can follow up.
I think what's very unique for me, the first time where I'm really speechless, and as a restorative justice practitioner, a big thought leader in the community, people have reached out to me for a response. So this is probably my very first public response in terms of what we have seen. And so with my own eyes, I have witnessed the looting and the rioting and people tearing up their own community, as well as other individuals, which I have a name for them. I want to feel like they're like the antagonizers or the aggressors, to make it seem as if they are part of the plight, but at the same time, they are the ones that are coming into the community to help you tear up your own. And so I think it's very disheartening, but I also, to not justify what I've seen, is that when you feel hopeless and when you don't know how to effectively use your voice, what else are you supposed to do? And so sometimes when we say, whether we could talk about the school to prison pipeline, we could talk about the poverty prison pipeline. When you don't have the resources, when you already feel depleted, when you already feel like you don't matter, when you already have witnessed police brutality that may not have went viral, and other disheartening things that have happened in your own community and things that you have been traumatized by, what do you expect?
Exactly. I'll follow up with you. Looting, protesting, how this feeling of frustration, your thoughts?
Me or Bill?
Yeah.
Bill.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We don't condone violence. We don't condone the looting, the rioting. But a lot of people are confusing understanding with condoning. As Dr. Jones had already alluded to, is that you really have to pause for a minute and just see where people are coming from. You're talking about a people who are systemically and systematically oppressed and are subject to under-resourced schools, under-resourced communities, people who don't have recreational activities, people who are tired of seeing videos of people who look like them being killed through police brutality and white supremacy. You have a conglomerate of emotions pent up in people. And what do you, it becomes a thing of, what do you expect? Like, or like, what else is there? How else should they respond? you really have to take a moment to try to understand where people are coming from. Is my response to your question.
Yep.
Do you feel that reconciliation is possible at this point? And then I'll open it up with you, Reverend Bill. When you have had historic starts and restarts, right? This is nothing new. You think of Philando Castile, you think of Tamir Rice, you think of Laquan McDonald. It's like it's the same soup warmed over. And you have somebody talking about reconciliation. Is that even possible right now in midst of everything?
Oh man, anything is possible. Anything is always possible. But I'll say this: the possibility hinges on who's controlling the agenda and what's on the agenda. This is not the day of we shall overcome. This is not the day of teach us how to treat you, teach us what you are. No. This is the time of a by any means necessary. That's the climate of that's the generation that you're dealing with. And so it's going to matter what's on that agenda, what is specifically speaking to the issues that people are facing. And if you don't want to talk about the odds, if you don't want to talk about what's going to make you uncomfortable, if you're not trying to deal with real serious overhaul of the whole system, then the answer to your question is no. But if you're ready for the revolution, then reconciliation is definitely something that we can ascertain.
Dr. Jones,
and let me add this: even
sure.
if you're not ready for the revolution, if you're not willing to get ready or do all you can to thrust yourself into it, no matter how afraid you might be of it, then you're going to halt reconciliation, because we're not here for the runaround anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So in regards to revolution, you talk about controlling the agenda, and Dr. Jones. So 2020, the election is basically 4 months away, 4 or 5 months. Obviously, the easy answer is to vote one out. But when you think of our plight, you think of Black Americans' plight within just their current circumstances. Is Joe Biden really the appropriate resolution? Has the Democratic Party ever really catered toward the needs of the Black community, or is this just panderism and identity politics?
I think for me personally, what I have seen is that it comes to a point where you have to pick the lesser of two evils. And that even though it may be unfortunate to say it that way, we have to be very and transparent about our approach and understand that this is what we're dealing with. And I kind of want to go back just a second ago when you were talking about reconciliation. Do I believe in reconciliation? Wholeheartedly, I do. And I believe in it from a personal perspective. You have to dig within. What is it? I think the issue that we run into is understanding our own purpose, our own mission, our own calling, that whether you believe in God or not, and I'm a believer of God, and it took me some time to get there. And Cody, you already know my pretty much my background being Kojic,
right?
Freedom Church of God in Christ all day long. And we also have a conversation about what that looks like.
Right.
But to the subject in terms of reconciliation, we got to think about it. Last year we celebrated 400 years.
Right.
400 years of the first slaves taking shore. Then I even have my notes, and you have 155 years after emancipation. And then you have 50 years or more, 50 plus years of our Voting Rights Act, and we still can't breathe. And so reconciliation is going to look different. So it starts with this type of dialogue that we have in here in terms of understanding what reconciliation look like, because reconciliation for me may look totally different than what reconciliation may look for you and you. And so I think it has to come down to a point of when we talk about reconciliation, we also have to talk about what it looks like to be restorative, and restorative as Black people. And I see like Tasha Davis, Dr. Davis, she's chiming in and she's saying no party is specifically for Black people needs. We must hold our vote and demand the party to adhere to our agenda in exchange for our vote as a people. And that's what it's almost like at this point in time, when you're talking about voting, you're talking about Joe Biden. Yes, he's made some comments. We've all made comments. His may just been more vocal. And so it just gets to a point where it feels like voting is a bartering system, in my point of view. We want what we want.
If the issue of reparations isn't being proposed, is that a make or break deal?
I think at this point it should be. if you're talking about the current climate and culture that we're living in, I mean, I already just gave you the numbers in terms of the history, but just think about
Right.
what we're currently facing. I mean, we literally can't even go outside at this moment. The gas stations are closed. You can't get gas. You can't get food. Deliveries are not being made. We already were talking about a pandemic of COVID-19. Now here it is. You know, and for me, I feel like the deadliest virus has been racism. And I'll be 40 this year. I've never seen anything like this. And so at this point, yes, what are reparations? And it just goes back to, like I said, it's about defining what these things look like for each one of us, because everyone has an agenda, and everyone has to be honest about knowing they have an agenda. And so how do we push that agenda forward that is going to be sustainable for all? And when I say all, about Black people.
True. Reverend Beal, I want to switch to you. What, as a member of the Grand Old Church, and I know I have this topic coming up next week, do you feel that your denomination has done enough or anything in lieu of recent events?
I think you have to take that question in two parts. Historically, you know, the benefit about the Church of God in Christ is we were the ones who were full of the Holy Ghost. And we were the tongue talkers, the shouters, the dancers. But we also gave voice to a lot of Black people who were from southern areas and not privy to education, weren't members of the elite or the higher up social classes, but they were pastors of congregations that they were able to speak to, invest in young people, and to push those young people out into the world. And then other emerging leaders began to come. And in addition to that, the Church of God in Christ is the largest Black denomination in the world, I believe, and the largest Pentecostal denomination in the country. Those are sizable statistics that puts the Church of God in Christ out on the forefront. And so I think that our stance is significant. I think that our voice and our image in the world is absolutely significant. Our presiding bishop is regarded as the voice of Pentecostalism, and he's called upon by presidents and magistrates, and his world has taken the church global, over 100 countries. I think when you look at those numbers, I think the answer is a resounding yes, that the Church of God in Christ has made its mark. With anything, you're going to have areas of improvement. And that's why my young elders like myself and you, Brother Cody, we represent the generation that must pick up the mantle and pursue better ways that our fathers and foreparents, like you come from pedigree. I mean, Bishop Marshall was a staple in Chicago. I mean, we all continue to grieve the loss of Bishop Marshall. But it's for us to pick it up and to keep making those areas better in the church.
Dr. Jones, I'm going to ask the same question to you. As someone who is not entrenched in the Kool-Aid drinking of the Church of God in Christ, do you feel from your own personal observation that we have made I get it, there's room for improvement, but a definitive stance? I personally, I think at moments we have voiced concern, but I have never heard of a definitive stance from our particular, and I'm a part of it, and I can say that because I love it. So Dr. Jones, I'll issue that to you.
Oh, wait. So I feel like at this moment, this is the rebel in me. I've had to come to the realization of some past traumas in regards to being a part of the greatest. And I'm saying this wholeheartedly, like, it brought me back to the foundation that no matter what I've gone through in my life, I'm always going to remember Bishop Marshall. I'm always going to remember Elder Powell, and all the other saints. Mother Pearson, who used to stay upstairs from your grandfather when they stayed on Blackstone. That's how far my history go back. And so I think for me, when I think of Elder Powell, there were specific people who I knew were making a difference and who were very vocal about and opinionated and took a step and stood on their word. They didn't waver. It wasn't a matter of if you liked what they had to say or not. It was their truth. And what I can appreciate about Elder Powell to this day is that he is one of the main people when I think about my childhood who gave me a glimpse of what hope looked like in terms of a Black man being in politics or being in on the legal side of things in terms of the law and knowing the law and being very articulate in his message. But when I look at the overall picture, no, I don't recall protesting. I don't recall preaching about the day-to-day life. What I recall is preaching about things that happened in the Bible and the King James version with the thee, the thou, and the thou, and before the New International Version came about. But I also do recall, and rest in peace to Erica Gordon Taylor. I don't know if you guys knew her, but that was one of my real close friends who passed away in March. She was the cousin of Emmett Till, and so because of my relationship with the Emmett Till family and knowing that the foundational components of Church of God in Christ, those were moments. So I remember in my 39 years that there were moments that I can recall that there was a sense of the civil rights movement or being able to be vocal and active in the community. But that was seldom.
I think that kind of shifts it to the next. Where do we go from here? Right now, I think everything is at a boiling point and frustration is palpable. But a week from now, 2 weeks from now, what's the next move, right? Because eventually you'll run out of stores. You'll run out of ways to march. Eventually, communication without a plan will basically fall on deaf ears. So I'll start there. Reverend Beal, where do we go from here?
I think we have to embrace Malcolm X's position of Black nationalism. Even if you don't want to call yourself a Black nationalist, because I understand that has an extremist undertone that some people are not so quick to embrace, but the principles and the values found in that we support our own, we put our money in Black banks, we support Black businesses, we build our communities, we educate our own children, we affirm our own families, we do things to build ourselves and make ourselves more marketable and more competitive. Because that's what America is. America is just one big business, and the rich and powerful have too long been able to play because they've been rich and powerful. And so I think we've got to pool our own. I mean, we really need to do some Black Wall Street stuff. I think all of our people need to study as much, read and research as much on Black Wall Street down in Oklahoma as we can. We need to look at cities, examples like Atlanta, where Black pretty much own Atlanta, and it's working. Like the dollar is spinning around in Atlanta. I mean, that's what we need to do. We really have to begin to understand that we've been in this struggle for way too long. We've been asking the system of exploitation to include us for far too long. That day is over with. It's really got to be as the old company FUBU, for us, by us. That's really the mentality that we've got to pick up.
Dr. Jones, where do we go from here?
So I think the silver lining of this all, before, we could talk about Breonna Taylor, we could talk about George Floyd, we could talk about Mr. Arbery, we could talk about, we could go on and on, the Trayvon Martins. And I mean, it's endless, even in the years that I've lived. But I think the silver lining for me has been, even in my own home, I have watched my 5 children flourish in ways that I've never seen them flourish before. Out of this pandemic, and when I say this pandemic, I'm not just talking about COVID-19, I'm talking about being Black in America. I have watched my children establish great businesses. I've seen people who have, stepped out on faith, because a lot of times we live in a world of being reactive. We wait for something to happen and then we make a choice. And so it's like you're being pushed and you're thrusted in a direction, just like what Pastor Bill is saying. When you think about what we have experienced, I have taken my brand and I've taken my leadership and I've been able to virtualize it and monetize it. My children have made sugar scrub businesses and lip scrub businesses and started to use essential oils, so we don't have to even go to Walmart and patronize the larger scheme of things. And we're bringing it back, that circulation of the Black dollar. I have a 13-year-old who started cuticle oil and vegan nail polish business. I've watched my friends who bake, just I love to bake. Now they are thinking about I want to put my money back in my community that has been dysfunctional for some time. So, and think about the parents who are now becoming full-time teachers because of distance learning or remote learning. And now parents are becoming more engaged in their child life and understanding that when that teacher was calling home to say your child had behavioral issues, you see for yourself that little Johnny be tripping at 2 o'clock. So now you get a glimpse of what the teacher is experiencing, which allows you to have more compassion and passion for who God has given you to birth into this world. That is your responsibility. So that is the silver lining for me. Of where we go from here is be able to see that we have what it takes to do what needs to be done, and we have to believe in it and be consistent in what we believe, and don't allow a pandemic to be the determining factor to say that I can make it because I've been pushed into making it. Make it because you have faith and you believe.
At what point, or if any, do we decide do we discuss a mass exodus? And I only bring this up because I think you can't ignore the Exodus story in Genesis, right? Or the Mosaic story in the Bible. I think you can't ignore the teachings of Marcus Garvey. If this continues to happen, and next month it's another black man, next month it's another black woman, at what point do you say, hey, we're tired of getting abused, let's just divorce and let's go back home? We've gotten to a point as black people where the abuse can no longer be overlooked. I believe in reconciliation, but I think one of the things, especially when you're dealing with counseling married people, there's an expression called irreconcilable differences. Yes. And that's when both parties get to a point where, hey, there's just no peace, and the best thing to do is to move forward. Has Black America gotten to that point? I'll start with you, Reverend Beal.
Wow, that's one that we have to wrestle with. I'm not sure how feasible those conversations are right now. And I don't think that is going to be the solution. Marcus Garvey tried that, and it didn't get very far. Right now, people are settled here. People have lives. They have careers. They have families. The black lineage runs deep in America. And from my point of view, this is as much as our land as it is anybody else's. I mean, we built it. Our sweat and blood built this land. And I think that we can make our lives formidable, and we can make our lives as fulfilling and maximize right here. But I think the best strategy is to pull together and strengthen ourselves through our own resources and move from there. But as far as everybody uprooting and going back to the motherland, that's a very, very ambitious plan that I don't think is practical. It's wonderful idealism, but we gotta have to deal with reality if we're gonna pull ourselves up.
Dr. Jones, your thoughts on a mass exodus, or as Elijah Muhammad stated infamously in the 70s, give us 5 states and y'all can keep the rest. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, if I had to choose, I know the mass exodus would not be for us. No, that's as simple as I could put that. But if it was an opportunity, as the great Elijah Muhammad has said, give us, because I've been troubled with this whole idea of segregation opposed to desegregation. And there are many times, more often now than ever before, where I feel like, let's just all be together. You stay over here, we stay over there. And that's unfortunate to feel that way. But when you continuously watch, and I'm not trying to get off subject, but when you watch a grown man, 46 years old, cry for his mother who passed 2 years ago on the 25th. So she passed 2 years ago, almost to the day that her son was murdered. And for them to tell us the autopsy says that he had pre-existing conditions, when we watched you, just take this man's life. I'm tired. And if there was a way where I can just say, you know what, me and my people, let's roll, and we gonna stay over here, you stay over there, then I wouldn't know what that would be like. But when you talking about when you feel depleted and you feel hopeless, what other choices do we have? because it's going to be somebody else tomorrow. It's going to be another hashtag. And that's unfortunate, but it's the truth, and people don't want to speak about the truth. There will be someone else. There will, and it's not even going to be. I don't, people like to talk about black on black crime to justify when those who took the oath to serve and protect take one of our own kings or queens. It just gets to a point where people have taken their authority, and you have people who have disgruntled issues from childhood. Maybe they were bullied, and like they even saying that George Floyd had history with the person who took him out. And so we got to think about all these different things, not just what happened to George Floyd or what has happened to Trayvon Martin, but these are young kings and queens who are not returning. And so just saying that someone is going to get a life sentence, because he's not going to get a life sentence, we could say that now. It sounds good, but think about all the other people who have been killed and murdered by the hands of white supremacists or AKA police officers. Not all police officers are bad, but just think about all the things that we're facing that we don't even know about. This just happened to go viral because the pressure was applied, or because a 17-year-old girl took out her phone and who is now being traumatized and have to replay this over and over. So how much more traumatization do we need? So if it was able to have like a mini exodus and not a mass exodus, whatever that may look like, yes, I would be all for it.
Yeah. Last hard question before I ask where they can connect with you. President Trump's response has been minor, but he has responded. Tweeted out, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." From as a citizen of the United States, when your leader, whether you voted for him or not, it doesn't matter how you define your political ideology, but when your leader has basically created a culture of hostility and now is basically asking for the second coming of the Civil War, do you feel safe? Period. And I'll start, Bill. Do you feel safe as a black man going outside? Period.
I mean, it didn't take Trump to the president to say that in order for me to know that I didn't feel safe in America. I mean, this extends something like this from a man who thinks like him. I was waiting for him to declare, which virtually he just declared martial law on American citizens. So no, absolutely not. I think I posted this last week on Facebook that I woke up one day last week and gathered my jogging clothes to take a morning jog, and literally took a pause out of fear. And I'm like, oh, I ain't going out to, and I right after that beat myself up, thinking like, wait a minute, am I really going to incarcerate myself in this fear that I have of being a black man in Palos Heights? You should have to live like that. But those are the realities. I mean, that's what's going on. And so to answer your question, no, it does not feel safe as a black man in America.
Dr. Jones, do you feel safe? You mentioned in your bio, wife, mother, author, scholar, leader. But when you leave the comforts of your home, I don't even know if you can say the comforts of your home, because I think of Botham John. He was at his home. Yep. Do you feel safe just as a black person, period?
No, sir. I try my best to stay as general as possible when I'm on my social media platforms, but just to give you a little context, I've been bald since 2012, and it being dark skinned, being bald, and being a female and being heavyset has always been against me. And talk about colorism, but we only have so much time. And so do I feel safe? Even before Trump came to office, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe when Obama, and that was like my favorite president ever. I still didn't feel safe because Obama can't protect me from when I'm driving down the street and I get pulled over. Obama can't protect me when I'm walking down the street and I got a hoodie on. I can't be identified if I'm a female or a male until they see the earrings. Or I'm very cautious about making sure I always have earrings to identify, to make people sure or make them feel safe. And so why do I have to live my life under the impression that I have to make other people comfortable with my presence? And so, no, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe for my children. I don't feel safe for my husband. But what I will say is that I will protect myself, and I will protect my family and my loved ones by any means necessary.
That's good. That's good. I want to throw that in. I know we're running out of time. We're almost there. But you mentioned colorism. Had a chance, my wife and I, to hang with some friends this weekend, and of course, we watched School Days because you can't, not watch the Black classics like School Days. And I looked at it differently this time. Normally, it's just a great film, but there's a scene when they're dancing with the gamma rights, right? Are dancing. And it's a conversation over good or bad hair. And they do this whole dance montage. And it's really a direct reflection over wrong perceptions, but traditionally held perceptions of lighter skinned blacks versus darker skinned blacks. Have we gotten to a point where we're past colorism, or do you feel that your lighter skinned blacks, obviously not including me, I feel like I'm the most conscious one of all, but your lighter skinned blacks are now entrenched with you and understand that the lightness of their skin hasn't made them white? What is your thoughts? Dr. Jones, I'll start with you.
I think we still have a long way to go. Growing up, and this, Tequila, your cousin, is my best friend to this day. When I say A1 since day one, but I know what it's like to be discounted. So I can't necessarily say what it looks like overall, but I know for those who are close to me and hold me near and dear to their heart, that the understanding is there. And things that we're now able to reflect on growing up, like, wow, that's what that was. We didn't have a name for it. It was colorism all along. And so just from a personal perspective, in my circle of friends, they understand and they see, and we have a dialogue about it. But overall, I don't think much has changed.
Reverend Beal, colorism, is it an issue, particularly within the pulpit?
Yeah, I cannot say that I've experienced colorism in the pulpit, but colorism is definitely very much so alive. And just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not going on even in the pulpit. We see these subconscious biases cropping up everywhere. So it would not surprise me if that was the case. One of the issues that the pulpit is having is the issue of separationism, or the cream of the crops versus those who, in our tradition, those who can get up and perform and turn the house upside down. Those are the ones. Not to slap, pat myself on the back, but I'm one of those who can get up and quote unquote bring the house down with all the, I
Sure.
can contend with some. I can contend with some of the best of them. But what if I didn't have that style? What if hooping and hollering, the teachers of our are not, are not so prevalent, because preaching in our context is too close to entertainment. We are dealing with these separationisms all around, whether it's because of your color, whether it's because of your voice, whether it's because of the nepotism, who your father is, who your mother is.
Right.
Did you come from the state supervisor, or did you come from the general board member? All of that. All of that is going on. Do you have a child outside of wedlock? I mean, it's almost as if people can't make a mistake and be forgiven for it. These things are used to continue to advance division. And so, yeah.
All right. Well, look, I appreciate it. These are my guests. I'm starting with Reverend Beal. Where can they connect with you? What are you doing? Where can the people follow you?
You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. My name on Facebook is L. Jerome Beal. Instagram is, I think it's @LadariusBeal. And Twitter. Follow me @LadariusBeal.
Dr. Jones, where can they connect with you at?
ShaniquaJones.com. That's my website. They could connect with me on Instagram, the Purple Path Dr. J. They could connect through my business page, Dr. Shan Jones 2016, as well as Twitter, Dr. Shan Jones 2016.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. This has been another installment, another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. Till next time. Thanks.
Thank you.